We are here at Signet Sound Studios recording the voiceover dialogue. It really is the first time my words are coming to life from a voiceover perspective, so it's very exciting.
We're getting ready to record Kratos, the lead character in God of War. T.C. Carson, who plays Kratos, was the original Kratos in the first God of War.
Athena, you conspire against me?
Kratos is this god that he's been stripped of everything. His mother's dead, his family's dead by his own hands, and he's just seething with anger and guilt and all of that.
Return to Sparta and prepare for battle!
People who play the game, they like being Kratos. You know, they like having that power. They like wielding that power. I, as a voiceover actor, I like wielding that power.
You defy the God of War?
I have a lot of rage. It's really not good. I'm trying to work with it, but, you know, I can't do like Kratos does. I can't go out and just maim and mutilate people. I have to go and meditate. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Kratos, the once mortal warrior, finds himself on a journey to the ends of the earth,
pulling him into the inevitable darkness.
What I'm being when I am a narrator is a storyteller. And that's the most primitive form of theater. And it's what I love the most.
You certainly don't live up to your reputation, do you, Kratos?
It's been a real interesting ride, that Clash of the Titans thing. This movie that I didn't think was going to really go anywhere became this long-lived, iconic film.
At least I can bathe in the glory of being the one who brought down the mighty Kratos, the slayer of gods. Although I hardly think a Harpy's fool such as yourself deserves such praise.
It's very interesting to go back in the booth today and try to recreate the ethos of that character and try to not make him sound too much like a kid, but more like a guy who's, I mean, obviously, Perseus would be a little bit older now. He was that in 1979.
Andromeda, my love, you will soon be with me again.
That's very nice.
I suppose there's a certain responsibility to bring credibility to a character like this, an iconic character. But it's a challenge to go out of your own self and to find a character that bears no resemblance whatsoever to who we are in our everyday life, and that's why I became an actor.
What do you mean, Gaia?
Not very often do you get the chance to play something as an actor that is so far removed from who you are, and not really removed from who you are, because we all have that side of us. And it's been really fun to be able to tap into that side of me, that Kratos side of me.
I got it in my mind now.
We want to make him big.
I got it. We can. This is going to be good. It's going to be real good.
I'm very excited about Atlas. To me, it was a big coup to get Michael Clarke Duncan, because when I thought about Atlas, that's the voice that always attached it for me. He has an incredibly powerful, commanding voice.
You dare show your face to me? Who breaks my chains of torment? He's a physical character. He's one of the strongest guys in the world. Actually, he carries the world on his shoulders. You know, to carry that around with you, especially for eternity, I can't even imagine. You have everybody's burdens right on your shoulder, and it must be very painful.
He's so big, he has absolutely no care in the world, so there isn't any need to push it out. His voice is so powerful, even in a whisper.
I'm still shouting a little.
You don't have to shout at all.
Don't shout, don't shout at all.
You don't have to push it at all.
The relationship between me and the voice director is very unique, because she is giving you, or he is giving you, specific directions on how you should say the line. That director is there to help you get a physical and a mental picture of exactly how this character should be played. I could not do this any other way without having somebody back on the other side tell me, okay, Michael, say it like this, say it a little softer, say it a little bit more angrier. They're very essential to what I have to do. To be a god.
Well, that's what I'm talking about.
Return to Sparta and prepare for battle!
Usually they tell you to bring it in, make it smaller. Can you tighten it up?
Return to Sparta and prepare for battle!
In game world, bigger is definitely better. And in a game like this, you really can't be too big.
This is take 9, and...
This ends now!
That's good.
Very nice. We're being quite a team today, huh?
It's great to work with people who can work with you, who know how to work with you, and know how to get the best out of you.
all the power that made Kratos the god of war.
What's so odd about doing these games is that, in fact, I can't tell you about my character because I don't know anything about her.
You want a fairly gravelly, inflected voice for Gaia. So I'm wondering if perhaps the narrator is just a more simple, straightforward voice.
Narrator and Gaia are the same character. They're just presented differently, and we don't want the voices to sound at all different.
They're working in broad general lines with Greek mythology. And so I address the language of my lines in an epic fashion. But beyond that, I really don't know anything. I'm just going in the dark. And they say, oh, that's great, or, oh, we'd like to try that again.
So this exclamation point after away, even though he's got his head down on the door, is that still...
when he says, and now you've dashed it all away, that's when he's going to turn around and it's the accusatory, like...
To do a voiceover of something that I've never seen. I mean, I know Perseus, I know that character because I played him, but I have no idea what's going on in this game and what the challenge really is within the context of the game. So it's a little odd.
Am I, the great Perseus, to kill this fallen god to receive an audience with you?
Nice.
Will that allow me to bring my love back from the grasp of Hades himself?
Yeah, that's great. That's where it's at. That's the level.
The people that create the video games, I'm sorry, fellas, but they're a little nerdy. You know, t-shirts, jeans, and, you know, they are really particular about their game. To watch them listen and see their game come to life is really a joy.
But there was more resting on Kratos' shoulders than he could know.
My nephew is a big gamer and has friends. Sorry.
There you go.
Has friends who game. If they're all as bright as he is, yes. Sounds like a very interesting group of people.
Fight, Spartan.
I missed by a long shot being a computer kid. I was one of those people who had to learn how to do it in my 40s.
So you're not a gamer?
I'm not a gamer, no.
My experience with video games in general is that right there.
But, you know, I'm from the generation where, you know, computer stuff is, you know, we getting through it.
A war the Titans believed we must win. I used to play video games, the racing, and I got kind of geeked up on that, and I found myself spending like 5 and 6 hours playing this racing game, and it just took too much time, and I said I should be doing something else more productive.
To me, I don't get it. But then again, you know, I'm an old fart.
Nothing will stop me in my quest! I will have my vengeance!
I saw some of the pre-animation stuff, and they had put the voice in already, and to see the character move and to hear my voice come out of that, it was a trip.
I would like to get that body right there. Maybe a couple more pounds, a couple more push-ups, I'll be there.
It's a good thing I don't have to turn into that, isn't it?
My title is Senior Technical Artist. The duties that involves are setting up production pathways, maintaining those production pathways, and then specifically on the technical end, we use a lot of what we call MEL scripting, Maya Embedded Language, which is our 3D package, and we write scripts and tools and UIs and that to make certain processes as easy as possible for the artists to use. All our characters consist of simply a character hierarchy, which is his bones and his geometry and textures, and then we have a list of files elsewhere that are the animations. And we're able to look at those really quickly simply by opening each file, but it proved to be even more useful to be able to put them all in one file and look at them in sequence so we could see how the run goes into an attack, which goes into an idle, which goes into another attack. I think we're going to see some exciting results from the animators being able to use that and see their stuff a lot more quickly.
I thought I was really creative, but then I found out that I was more technical in the long run. Okay, I guess I'll come up and look at it. I think I'm pulled away every hour. Maybe I get 2 hours at my desk on a hectic day. Sometimes I don't get to my desk, which is the worst. Hey, Jackie. I generally tend to know everybody's position on what they do or can and can't do, and most of the bugs that come around. So I generally just get to fix it. It's probably looking for another camera. If I wasn't here, most people would think that it might explode the entire building, but I kind of beg to differ, because if everyone pulls their knowledge together, we could make it through no matter what. Another problem solved. Just one more in a long day of solving problems.
A good technical artist should definitely be creative, but the most important part is being technical. There's a character called Pegasus, and it's basically a horse that has big wings. The character artist that was working on the feathers was trying to figure out a nice way to make the feathers look realistic. We did a test with joints. We had 10 joints per wing that we used to move the different points on the wing around to give the effect of turbulence deforming the wings and the feathers. We quickly realized that that's something that's going to be too expensive, so we pursued other ways of doing the same effect. I then did a test with something that's called blend shapes. The way it works is we create 3 blend shapes, one for each version of the random kind of feather movement. And the way we do that is we just select the mesh, we duplicate it, move it to the side. We then select the vertices where the feathers are, and then we use the script that randomly moves these points around. Here we have the 3 versions of the different feather effects, so you can see that these feathers are kind of randomly moved around on each version. So if I move this up, you can see it, the points moving randomly. And in the game, when we bring it in, it looks something like this. I really enjoyed trying something new that's never been done before, at least not in our game. When the challenge is, hey, we want you to do something grand, but on the other hand, we want you to make it as cheap as possible for the engine to run. And when this worked out, it was a really good feeling, and everybody was really excited. And it added that extra oomph to the effect that, you know, to sell it to the audience.
Hi, my name is Cecil Kim. I was responsible for the environment concept on God of War 2. Previously I worked on a God of War 1 with Dave Jaffe. It was a really difficult process, first game, and coming out from the 3 years experience on the first game, it really got me burnt out. And luckily, second time, we had a little bit more freedom on creativity to go a little bit more free on the design, the environments. And one thing that I learned from the production was that because I easily get caught up with try to find the solution in architectural details, which was wrong because that sort of limited myself to use different ideas. And now I understand the game better because this game is about the God and it's about this the larger than life. It's all about, you know, the nature and about this crazy thing happen because the you know, what that mutual power is like jealous each other or try to overpower each other. And by knowing that, I mean, it's not just about architecture, it's about understanding how the world is going to be set and how we can push it to make it just bigger than what people can imagine.
Hi, my name is Andy Park, and I'm one of the concept artists on the God of War 2 team, and I'm talking about the God of War 2 creatures. God of War 1 created a mass array of different creatures that more or less the audience is aware of, like the Minotaur and Cyclops, all the creatures from Greek mythology. God of War 2 has a lot of those same creatures, but they really try to take it to the next level. We're always trying to create creatures that are really just cool to look at and also to play or fight against, but we also want to always keep the mythological look. It always has to stay Greek, and that as a concept artist, that's the challenge that we faced. A group of 6 or 7 of us that we had on this team not steering too far away from the Greek and the mythological look. We did take the Minotaur and the Cyclops and a lot of the creatures from the first game and kind of give them a different spin, a different look. We're really trying to just kind of take it to that next level and also creating creatures that have just more variety than what you've seen from the first game. You know, there's just so many different creatures in Greek mythology. Unfortunately, we're not able to have all of the creatures in this game.
I like to think of music for video games as providing a function that is different from all other pictured media, whether you're talking about film or television. Somebody is actually performing an activity. They're holding a controller and they're doing something. And so that musical score is scoring the gameplay experience. In God of War 2, the character of the game itself is punching and driving, and swords are smashing into things. So there's an intense, percussive, slamming quality to the God of War musical score.
The God of War 2 score really tracks the intensity of the game as if it's just another player in there, like another invisible actor in there, just raging right alongside Kratos. I think one of the most impressive things is the fact that we can have multiple composers working on this project and end up with a very unique, cohesive sound.
We actually had 4 composers who are also on God of War 1. Gerard Marino, Mike Regan, Ron Fish, and Chris Velasco. We work closely up front with the director, Corey, to really kind of define what musical cues are going to be needed. And then we design a cue list. When we get all those cues from the composers, they're kind of raw materials. It's time for us now to kind of cut it all up and adapt it and make it work in the game itself.
We spot the game the same way that directors and composers sit together and spot a movie. And we're free to do all the different things that we can do in editing and in programming the music so that it sounds like you're actually hearing a cinematic score when you play the game.
This time around, we added a lot more live production. Some of the compositions are a little bit more complex and frenetic, and we really needed just like the best players to really pull this off.
And so we went to London for our brass. They just have an amazing sound. They're the very best players in the world. And the brass plays a very important role in God of War. When they literally sight read their first cue, bam, it came out at us, and we were like, that's why we came. Same thing was true in Prague, where we got our strings, and we recorded a 40-voice choir. They got the music very quickly and put their hearts and souls into it.
The live music then comes back and has to be incorporated back into all of the source material we received, and just sounds incredible. The music production overall, like the rest of God of War 2, is a massive undertaking. I think it speaks a lot to the quality of the game we're working on, that everybody is working so hard and still having such a great time. It just clicks.
You really need a great video game to be a vehicle for a great score. And that's what we have with God of War 2, just like we had with God of War 1. I mean, you end up with an experience that really raises the bar of what people should expect from a video game.
We're combining synth tracks from the composers, brass from London, strings from Prague, choir from Prague, and all these elements coming together, whammo. It was like, okay, this is why we've done all this.
Today's important because it is the first playtest. It's the first playtest for the game, and it's the first playtest for me as a director. So it's kind of a monumentous occasion.
The week, it was long. It felt like about a month. So, you know, a lot of late nights, a ton of effort, a lot of putting out fires, a lot of running around. But it's typical of this industry.
Last night was rough for a lot of people, but they all pulled through, man. I'm wickedly impressed with this team. Yesterday all day, everyone's running around doing what they got to do and really kind of working like a well-oiled machine, so that was fantastic.
It's problem after problem after problem, and we did as much as we could, and we got to the point where we couldn't think anymore, so we had to call it a night.
Welcome to the first official playtest for God of War 2.
Hopefully those guys are just smiling like, oh my god, this is the best!
Everything is being videotaped, and it's actually being fed down to another room. Multiple people can view it from multiple perspectives.
So far, everybody's fallen off the bridge. And we forgot to put a message on the chests, so nobody really knew how to do the chests to open them. I think one of the responses would be, man, this game is rad. Everything you did about it is so good. You guys rock. I want to be like you. In which case I would be like, oh, please, no. We'd be very excited, but also somewhat bummed because we wouldn't get much constructive feedback about how to make it better. The other extreme end would be, wow, this sucks. The first game was so much better. What happened? What did you do to it? And then, you know, we would be sad. The third type would be the constructive criticism, like, oh, you know what, I felt this part was a little too hard. It would really be neat if you had better enemies. The level was confusing, and I got lost at this point, which would help us on our level flow, so we'd go, oh, okay, that's good, we can pick something up from there. So the third is the most desired response. Chat about just some thoughts. Good thoughts, bad thoughts, anything, just throw out stuff about overall experience of the level.
Integrating the puzzles with your exploration as well is great, because I mean, you're constantly seeing something new even while you're solving puzzles, which is pretty cool.
They had great results. I feel honored that they worked this hard just to put together a demo for us to play. That's pretty cool.
The stopping the time was real cool. That's, you know, real new. Couldn't do that before. That's going to have a whole new aspect to the game. And, you know, so far, you know, it really got me hyped up to see the rest of the game.
The game was received very well, even despite the little flaws that really bothered me, and I wish we could have gotten fixed. People look past that. I just wanted to get everybody together. We just finished our first playtest of our first level that kind of has gone through the pipe, and it was received extremely well. It was great to see everybody kind of pulling together, and a great moment for everybody to see people enjoy it.
Those of you who are barely awake, go home.
Yes.
Okay, about 30 seconds away, people. Okay, people, let's do it. And a hush fell over the crowd as they ascended the staircase to Focus Test Central. First of all, welcome and thank you for coming. This is extremely important in our development process, so please be as brutally honest as possible. If you have any problems, Adam and Paul are here, and I think that's about it.
These guys don't have any preconceived notions of anything, so therefore they'll catch all the mistakes that we just take for granted. Games that really heavily playtest the product really elevate themselves very far above most other games. God of War 1 was playtested like crazy, and we benefited greatly from it. The levels we did in playtest on God of War 1 were the Hades blades, and you see how well those turned out. Oh, dude, the fucking bounty volume thing on the trainers.
Yeah, the two pop away.
3.
Yo. Hey guys, please keep in mind they can't use the wind magic. We're watching number 3 right now using the bow. Please ask them to stop.
Sometimes the way you talk is really annoying, Steve.
Well, you know what?
I just want you to know.
I find it
I think
annoying
it's a friend, like, hey, you're walking too close to the edge.
When the obvious, when you have to tell people the obvious 8 times, gets annoying.
Well, there's 2 guys watching 5 monitors. Absolutely feel free to say whatever it is. None of us get any better unless we find out what's wrong. So do not hesitate at all.
I don't know about the rest of you guys, but the surprise rock guy who popped out at you, that freaked me out. It was great. I mean, I know if I'm playing at 3 o'clock in the morning, that's going to scare the shit out of me. So that was really great.
I'd like to see exploding enemies.
Did you actually, on one of your things, say you wanted more screaming?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Come on, that was good. See, I got a parking ticket this morning, and I was pretty pissed about it. And this type of game just makes me feel happy. Like, at the end of the day, if somebody fucks with me, I come to this at home, I just sit down, I beat the shit out of people, and they're like screaming blood everywhere, and I feel good.
That's fantastic. This guy is, you know, the epitome of the God of War fan. He's the type of guy that we totally appreciate as developers because he's so freaking into the game. He's also the type of guy we're probably scared to meet, you know, in the real world, like in a dark alley or something like that, because he's fucking out there as his love of violence.
I really wanted to see that thing topple onto an enemy's head and like smash him and have him like writhing in pain underneath the rock.
He may be taking it to the extreme, but I think everybody has maybe a piece of what he talks about, which is, I've had a bad day, and I want to go home, and I want to vent my helplessness at a situation at work out on something, and I don't want to do it in the real world. I play this game, and I tear this guy apart, and I feel powerful. Thank you very much, guys. This is awesome. This is really going to help us. We fared better than I thought we would, especially with how down I was this morning about it. So I'm psyched. Today we are testing the Rhodes level, which is the first level of the game, the opening sequence. Rhodes being the first level is exceptionally important to have that, you know, huge, epic opener, kind of topping what we did in the first game. It's got to be bigger than the Hydra. They come in here and some of the stuff is arted up. They have no preconceived notions on anything. They don't know how to use any of the stuff that we've been working with the whole time. So they get all these abilities and they're just like, what the hell? What's this do? I don't understand how this works. They don't understand that something only lasts for 8 seconds. Well, we totally get it because we said it's going to last 8 seconds. So it's a rude awakening to sit there and watch it and be like, oh, just do what I want you to do now. But, you know, teaches us.
We were discussing earlier how strict the time limit was.
Playtesting like this is vital. The people in the studio, very close to the project, have played it a lot. You don't see the obvious a lot of times. So the feedback is always incredibly valuable because they're the target market. They're the guys that are going to spend their money to buy our game, and we're here to satisfy the fans.
Thanks again for coming in. We got a lot of work to do. We have 3 weeks until Alpha. So looking at that, I know that we have some tough roads ahead of us for the next 3 weeks to get everything into shape, and it's time to go home.
Today is our second annual Halloween party. It makes the working and kind of the more grueling hours a lot more fun when we can have a good time.
Attention everyone, the party has begun.
Tensions are high. I've just recently had to cut a level. We're, I think, 6 or 7 months to Alpha, so I've already had to start hacking away at my baby. We had a couple meetings. We were in character meetings and we were in effects meetings, and everyone was kind of getting really tense and really stressed out. This is a lot of stuff. This is more than we thought. You know, the realization that you've got some pretty hard roads ahead of you kind of hits everybody, I think, pretty hard. I had a meeting with the producer afterwards, and he was kind of like, maybe you should think about cutting Atlantis. And I think he was partially joking, but he was also a little bit serious on, hey, you may have to start making some cuts. And I was like, look, I'm not ready to make any cuts. I had that cheesy, what is that, Project Greenlight the first year when he was like, over my dead body, we won't get that. And it was kind of how I was, a little baby throwing a tantrum. And then I sort of realized, wait a minute, maybe this is for real. But in the end, I've learned a lot from that. Not that I'm so comfortable with it that I want to start cutting shit all over the place or anything, but I know that that's going to come again. Most likely I'll be sitting here talking to you again about what I had to cut again, and maybe 2 or 3 times after that I'll just be like, I don't care, cut some more. Maybe we'll just be cut crazy. We'll release it on like one of those really small discs. God of War 2, 7.5 minutes long. Just kidding, it's not even going to come close to that. The object of the game is to stomp out other people's balloons, much like other people's creative dreams, without having your own balloon or creative dreams stomped out. It's actually a great metaphor for game development. It's a group of people shooting at each other's ideas.
Are you supposed to stomp your own thing or not?
That's not really true, but it is.
I think if we can get all the balloons tied around everybody's ankle before they pop them themselves, we should be in good shape. Their pie or as much of their pie in 5 minutes or less. And Ashley, are you opting out?
You're talking trash.
All right, I'll do it just because I like talking trash.
I'm kind of full right now. I don't know if I can handle this delicious pie.
I'm ready for this. I'm going to take it out. This is my pie.
One hand only. The other hand behind your back. First one to finish all their pie wins, or the first one to finish as much in 5 minutes. 3, 2, 1, eat!
Jason, how do you feel?
Fool. I got a few trophies and stuff. I got baskets of joy, and this is my plaque. My friend Kratos. I drink to him, I salute him.
I would say that I have an infinitely larger amount of respect for the concept of a game director. I never knew the half of it. I've never been nervous in public speaking situations, but I am a fucking wreck for this thing. I'm going to basically be presenting the game, play through, and pray to God it doesn't crash. It'll be the largest I've ever seen this game projected, which just means any flaws are going to be like the size of a midget. All right, let's do this thing. You feel so much larger when you have a projected voice. Awesome. We are so completely set. It's crazy. I feel like one of those weekend seminar speakers. We loved God of War 2, but we're deaf now.
As long as they love it.
And that's really all that matters. Feel loose. Feel loose. Feel ready to hit some buttons.
The gods of Olympus have abandoned me.
If the game crashes while I'm standing up there, it's the worst thing that could happen. Aside from me, like, sneezing and having snot hang out my nose during the press. Even then, I think that can have a funny spin to it. A crash is definitely not a good thing. So what we're going to do is kind of go right into this little sneak peek, pulling up the curtain a little bit, demo. You guys are the first ones that are really going to check this out.
Nothing will stop me in my quest. I will have my vengeance!
One of the things we're really excited about in this game is that Kratos has to journey to the edge of the world. So instead of just having him hop on a Pegasus and play a cinematic, we're actually going to make the player fight their way to the edge of the world. So this new gameplay experience is going to have the same combat system that we have on the ground, except you're going to be fighting these battles thousands of feet above the earth. So that part of the game is actually not necessarily directly linking up to this next part of the game. We wanted to give you guys kind of a diverse experience. So as in the last game, we're really kind of mixing up the environment. What we're doing in the second game is actually turning the pickups to more of an in-game acquisition. So every time you fight a Cyclops and you rip his eye out, you're actually going to be able to collect that and use that to get rewards.
Help me with these beasts! I have found the secret of Medusa's temple!
This is really showing that idea that Kratos isn't the only one on the island seeking out the Sisters of Fate. There are many heroes throughout mythology that are actually trying to change their own fate. And the enemies that we're bringing back are not just going to be sort of the standard size, we're actually going to be bringing back some of the other larger sized enemies. Now we're all the way back to where we started, and I'm actually able to use the Golden Fleece to throw the Medusa's beam back and turn the door to stone. And that is our little sneak peek into the E3 demo. I want to thank you guys for checking it out. To me, it's from the gut, you know, from the heart, that, yeah, it's going to measure up. I worked on the first game. Half these people worked on the first game, you know? What the first game was a culmination of all these people's work. And this is our blood, sweat, and tears, man. We would never, ever let it fall below what we strove for. We are absolutely not resting until we eclipse the quality of the first games. The response we wanted was what we got out of that press event. Because going into it, I kind of was like, what is the point of this, you know? E3's in 2.5, 3 weeks. Let's just show at E3, you know? But it was good. I see the purpose of it. That's really what game development is. They just keep moving the goal line, you know, taking the ball away when you're trying to kick it. It's generally the status quo for this job. How you doing? I'm Corey Barlog, director of God of War 2, and what I'm going to do is give you a little tutorial on how to use the mechanics of the game. First thing we're going to show you is the rapidly pressing circle button mechanic. The circle button prompt will come up in the left-hand corner of the screen. You just rapidly press a circle button until you complete the action. Cranks, somewhat misunderstood mechanic sometimes. There's an icon in the lower left-hand corner of the screen. You don't actually have to follow the icon animation, you just follow Kratos' progress on the crank circle. Just make gentle circles following his progress all the way around. The new feature in God of War 2, the grapple, has little icons throughout the world that glow, just like that, and when you approach them, they will radiate, letting you know that you're in range. This means that you can now hit the R1 button, Kratos will throw his blade out, you'll attach to the grapple. If you press the button down and hold it, you'll actually continue your swing. As long as you keep holding it, you'll keep swinging. When you press the X button, you'll release, and you'll be able to continue on to either the next grapple or where you need to go. Another mechanic that we have from the last game is the stick shake mechanic. So when you get frozen by a Medusa or get hit by one of the Griffins, the stick shake icon will appear in the left-hand corner of the screen. And essentially you take the left analog stick and shake it back and forth rapidly until you either shake out or die. The circle button appearing above the creatures basically indicates that you can go and grab the character and enter a CS minigame. These are the stick swoop icons, one of the tougher minigames. All you need to do is just follow the prompt on the screen with the left analog stick and make circles in the shape that the icon is there. Pretty simple, but very difficult sometimes. A new mechanic that we have in God of War 2 is kind of a fishing reel type mechanic. You're going to throw your blades into characters, and then you make circles with the left analog stick as if you're reeling them in. These are the multi-button CS minigames. So you initiate the minigame, and then follow the button prompts that come on the screen. Hitting the X, hitting the circle, hitting the circle again, until the creature's dead. Another new mechanic we have in God of War 2 is the L1, R1. Essentially, you are alternating from L1 to R1 as if you're shaking something back and forth. These are the Amulet of the Fate statues. When you are not in range, you can't activate the Amulet of the Fates, hitting L1 and pressing R1. But when you go into range, they'll radiate with a circle, and then if you press L1 and then R1, you'll activate the Amulet of the Fates, which slows down the world time. Rage of the Titans, activated just like Rage of the Gods in God of War 1. You press the L3 and R3 command, the two analog sticks, press them in. The unique thing about this game is you're able to turn it on and turn it off. And that's it. That is the little tutorial walkthrough for the God of War 2 mechanics.
The description for Kratos was just, we want him to be badass. And that was the direct quote from Dave, you know, that he used the word that a lot, all over. So I knew okay, that's a definite, we need to get that. But at the beginning, we didn't even know if it was going to be male, female. Some of the sketches were actually a female Kratos, possibly. We're looking for anything that might work. This was just, it doesn't really look like much. It's some kind of alien creature. or a little bit more comical. Big hands, big feet, a flame for his hair. It's almost like holding the weapon like a pool cue. Originally, I was feeling like maybe we need to kind of give him a little soft spot, you know, something that humanizes him. And so that was, we tried the whole baby idea, kind of like the lone wolf and cub, and figured, okay, we can't do a baby because we can't have a baby getting injured or anything like that. So, okay, how about I put a puppy back there? And Dave actually liked that idea at first, but just in terms of implementing it, it would cause a lot more gameplay issues. Eventually, Dave kind of went a different direction with it, and it's like, hey, how about you have to kill the puppy before it turns into Cerebus? I was like, oh, okay. The second stage is we went through a lot of different types of characters. Dave saw this one, he's like, oh yeah, it's capturing the feeling of what he wanted. The next big challenge was, what is he going to be using? You know, because I mean, this is a game, and one of the big things that we need to really push is, how does he fight? At some point, Dave responded to some chains that I'd put on him, and then at some point, I gave him 2 blades. But those 2 elements were never really put together. They're like, we need to hurry up and come up with something. And I think one day I was like, okay, I'll just go off to lunch by myself. I need to think about this. And went to Carl's Jr. I think I still have that sketch somewhere, and it's like a little napkin sketch. That was the first sketch that we started to go towards. Kratos with the double blades, big thick blades, swinging him around with his chains. As an artist, I would like to push him more. As a game artist, where we ended up, I think it works well.
When I first started here, Kratos had the chain blades. The main thing, like the theory behind all of it, was to maintain the fluidity of the change and the fact that there was weight at the end of them, but not cripple the player because of it. Not like you'd have to sit there and wind up and go all over the place. It was actually just like a performance or something, which sounds, you know, but it's not.
The biggest challenge, I guess, would be animating his blades. In the beginning, the rig didn't really support that kind of weapon, so there was an evolution in the way we handle all that. Now the animators are a lot happier. Actually, everything with the rig right now is pretty good. It's pretty easy to animate Kratos compared to the first game.
Kratos was that sort of brutal, no-holds-barred, just vicious guy. What I was trying to put into it as well was it was sort of the violence, but it also had a bit of the style to it, so that you felt cool playing this guy.
We wanted to keep the player interested, so we can't just do a rehash or recolor of something else. And so we struggled a lot with the powers and also the weapons. And in the first game, we had one sub-weapon, the chains and the sword. And so we knew that we needed to expand upon that.
I really wanted to experience that being cut down to size, that fall from grace, and have the player experience that during play, like actually have to deal with all that, and then take a little bit of their own emotions of losing their powers, their frustration, and then it kind of focuses towards the antagonist of like, fuck that guy, he took my stuff.
He looks more smoothly than the first game. Texture is more detailed than the first game, but actually on technical side is cheaper than the first game character. This is a model with texture, and we use the green color to do all the transparency.
Initially it was very hard because the design always asks for a lot of things, and my initial reaction is, you know, no, we can't do that, or you're crazy. The tech group and myself, we kind of just beat our heads against the desks and we figure it out and we do it, you know, and then we actually see it and go, oh wow, you know, we can push Kratos to a higher level.
He has full facial animation ability. We could do fine weighting. All the in-game cinematics are using this model.
We're able to get closer to Kratos during actual gameplay and combat without any of the thing falling apart, which is fantastic. That's a really big thing. He really, I think, goes through a lot. At the end of this one, he's denied again his vengeance, and he finds out something that the Extras movie said was already so, but just bummed me out that we said that, so we're pretending that the Extras movies aren't 100% there. So all the people out there who are finished the game and have gotten this and have said, oh, what the hell, the Extra movie said that Kratos' mom told him that Zeus was his dad. I don't care.
A concept artist takes the descriptions from the director and just the story, and we design all the assets, whether it's a character, environment, a prop, whatever, anything visual in the game. We draw it up, we paint it up, and design what it looks like.
We've got this piece here. It's Kratos versus a Minotaur. This is going to be for another Game Informer. One of the nice parts about working on this image was that I got to kind of redesign the Minotaur a little bit, and had fun with them right here. You can kind of see some of the changes going on here. One of the things that we ran into, because initially I had his head cocked a little bit further over here to his left side, but you don't see his face as well. So this was one of the changes that Corey asked me to do, was try to, cock his head back over a little bit more so we can see his face.
The palace is one of the big locations. It has sort of rounder setting, and as you progress to get to the center, you get sent to the bottom, and then there's dramatic magic release, and then you get to send to the top. I was really excited about the whole concept behind it. One thing that I was able to sell to Corey was having this two monumental statue in the front, so kind of accentuate, actually step into this place, worshiping temple.
The write-up they gave me was that he would create a void, and he's supposed to take his weapon, which in this case was a boomerang, and throw it into the void, and the void would appear near Kratos and strike him. His left arm was supposed to create the void, so I started to take half his body, or one arm would be kind of black, or half his body would be draped in cloth. As I went along, I started thinking about, how about if he threw up this void? So he would just kind of come at you and puke on the floor and create this void. Corey, he wanted it to become more like black smoke. So I started playing around with those themes. This was kind of what he bought off on. I was getting really close. I just had to make some minor changes on it. I really like him the way he's looking, and just at this point they killed it. Yeah, it's still one of my favorite pieces. It was for me, a nice exercise in development.
What I was told was that this is where the boss fight is going to happen between the Sister 1 and Sister 2 and yourself. And the limitations were on this one that it's opulent, just to bling it out, and it's just really grand. With a couple back and forths, I came up with the final image. It's a lot of detail because basically they need this in order to build. Right in these areas, there's like these blue rectangle things. And I was thinking maybe it's just like a top of a pillar, so it could be, metallic or something. But Ken Feldman, he interpreted it as blue velvet pillows. So he actually modeled like blue velvet pillows in that environment, which is totally fine. It could be seen as a place of worship, so maybe people were to sit on them and stuff like that. But so yeah, seeing their take on your idea, ultimately it's their idea, but our concepts, and seeing it in a 3D form coming alive, that's where the reward comes from.
All I was really given about the character Oceanus was that he resides in a lake and then comes up out of the lake and starts to wreak havoc on the gods around him. This is what I came up with. Just a lot of variations of the Titan body. The reaction to these was less than stellar. They thought, well, he looks like the other guys, and what are you doing? With the help of my VizDev team, we were able to kind of push it outside of the box and really make some strange, bizarre things. And my team pushed me and told me, let's make this really weird and not worry about how it works. Just make it cool. This had a much more favorable reaction, but not there yet. And then he keeps evolving, keeps changing into more of a water creature. The elements that took me to the next step at this point was to abandon his legs. This is where we finally ended up, which was just this sort of whirlpool of water just shooting up into the sky with his fists and just, exuding power. Unfortunately, after all this work, Oceanus was cut entirely from the game. I hate water now. I really do. I just never liked it, don't swim very well, and this kind of confirms it.
So I'm Stig, art director on God of War 2, and we're going to take a look at some of the lost levels of the game. During the pre-production stages of God of War 2, there was a lot of time spent developing different art concepts, not only on paper, but in 3D. We had a lot of new environment artists start on this project. Almost more than half of the environment team was fresh from other companies, and one of the things that we like to start them with is kind of building these test levels that gave them a chance to learn all the different techniques that we had created on God of War 1. But at the same time, it was good for the whole team because these guys came, they were kind of the rock stars of the companies that they worked at before, and they came here with all sorts of different techniques and methods, which they shared with the rest of the team. That's a big reason why you've seen such a big jump in the graphics between God of War and God of War 2 is because we got all these fresh ideas. The lost levels, they're not only a good proving ground for the artist to prove himself that he understands the tool and the technology, but it's also a good proving ground for the technology in general. Designing something like a Pegasus level is something that's very challenging for an artist. Because we've never done anything like it before. Everything from just the way that we build the geometry at a different level of detail because it's farther away from the camera to little things like the effects. This is kind of the canyon run stuff that we didn't get as much of it or any of it as we wanted to get. Atlantis was going to be an entire world in the game, and we lost that one too. Unfortunately. Maybe it'll come back some other day. This is almost a complete level, pretty much. I mean, we had a lot of everything from the visuals down to all the scripting of the events and explosions, AI placement. It's very sad that it had to get cut. I remember when I heard about it, I was in denial for a few days, but we made our way through it, and we were all very happy with the other levels, so it's nice that it got to make it onto the lost levels.
Level design is a lot about coming up with the puzzles and the layout and the pacing of an area and coming up with the themes and how they integrate with the story. I worked with Corey to kind of pace it out on paper in a very, very rough form. Corey figured out what he wanted in the script, and then we agreed upon different worlds and kind of the scale of the worlds, what mechanics we wanted to introduce in those worlds, and then set up the layout to facilitate that. On a day-to-day basis, working with all the different level designers to make sure that everything kind of had a consistent feel to it. And then when you jump on it, it's just like a straight elevator ride down. Level design is about planning and like figuring out like, okay, if we want this, then like how are we going to stage this, and kind of sticking to your guns, but at the same time having the fluidity to kind of like change gears when you need to, just be like, oh, well, that totally doesn't work, throw it away, and like, start all over again.
Basically, you have to look at the game from the top down. So we have to say, well, we just had a puzzle here, so let's try to like have a big fight because it's a little bit more visceral after you just used your brain to, you know, figure out this crazy puzzle that we throw in. So we do that kind of stuff, like just how we want the fights to go, difficulty level of the fight. How we determine how to pace the fights is very much trial and error. We'll spend days on a fight, and then we'll have a play test, and then we can throw all of what we just did out the window. You can tell just by watching them play.
Camera design is basically taking the player and guiding them through the interactive experience. So the camera designer's job is to help the player understand a puzzle, where to go, what he needs to see in order to achieve success in a video game.
Camera in a game like God of War 2 is incredibly important because it basically shows the player everything that he needs to know in order to become a master at the game.
When we're doing like play tests and stuff like that, we're trying to figure out what are these players trying to see.
We try to make sure that we're thinking about, well, what is the player's experience at any point, and what is the player thinking about, and so we show that.
The basic viewpoint is that we're trying to stay behind Kratos, and we're trying to lead the player in the proper direction. We change it up when you get into an arena and you do some combat and stuff like that. Generally, you don't necessarily need to be behind Kratos at that point of view. You want to see all the enemies and stuff around you. So we might go to a side view, we might go to a 3/4 top-down view. We go to different views in order to provide perspective for the player so that he can see the enemies around him a little bit better. He can have combat a little bit better. His controls feel right for the combat. But that wouldn't necessarily be the same view that we have for when we're following them, when we're trying to just lead them from one point to another point.
We take control away from the player on the camera and we give them the shots they want and let them focus on just the gameplay itself. A limitation of our fixed camera system is that we have to show certain things at different points. So a lot of times we set up what's called a cut camera, and you walk into a room, there's a lever on the other side, and we need to let you know that that's where you need to be. So we'll zoom in on the lever, show that, and then back out and say, okay, now do what you want, but we pretty much just told you where to go.
You only notice the cameras when they're bad. So I think that if you don't notice the camera work, I think maybe we're doing our job right.
I get the most satisfaction when I've completely designed a space, and a room or a WAD, we call them. And I pass that off to the artists, and then the artists dump all their art in and pass it off back to me. And it's the first time I see it, and it's all fully arted, and I'm like, whoa, this is what I designed? This is what the artist did with that space? This is the sheet version of the level. This is the start point and the spire. It's just a sandbox for us to go in and figure out exactly how the design is going to work. This is after the sheet version that I just showed you was sent off to the artists and then returned. It gets really magical when it comes back from the artists, and they've done really cool stuff with it.
I was presented with a door and a dead body, and I knew I needed to use the dead body in some way, some new and interesting way, in order to get through that door. So what I have here is the actual level that I was presented with in a wireframe, and this is the completed in-game version. Initially, the player may think that they have to put the dead body on the pressure plate and just walk over here, but since the door only opens halfway, that's not the entire puzzle. If they come over here, you'll notice there's this other pressure plate, which opens the door all the way. So if I make a run for it, kind of go through, I just don't have enough time in order to get over there. So the distance between here and the final door is much less than the distance between here and the final door. So I should probably put that dead body on that pressure plate. And I realized that this debris that's floating by in the river was the same debris that was floating by in this other river. So it must be some kind of circuit. So I put the dead body into the river just to see what would happen. And come over here and check in, and oh, there's my dead body. So pick that bad boy up, put him onto the pressure plate. That opens the gate halfway. Now I'm closer to the door, so I should be able to make a break for it and run over here and exit through the door just in time.
For me, I just kind of first start off with just imagining just what would be the coolest possible scenario that someone could go through on a grapple sequence given the parameters. And then I'll start going down on paper and just drawing, sketching out the rough ideas. And then from there I go into Maya, and then I'll start actually building out the level, putting the points in, and then I'll start going in there and tweaking it and tuning it until it's done. I was thinking, like, wouldn't it be cool if something else is kind of going on in the background, something else to kind of like, as you're going through this, you're like racing against this other, basically like a fuse on a bomb or something. That's kind of like the idea I was trying to go with. And something also visually, like, so when you're going through like this, you're like, shit, that's awesome, you know? Like, this is like a really cool sequence. So am I gonna make it, am I gonna make it, am I gonna make it? That's kind of like the ramping up that I wanted to feel. And then like that last moment when you're flying through and then you make it and then you're like, whew, you know, I'm done. I hope in the end, you know, even if you're restarting and playing through a couple times, that it's not that long and you'll be able to get through it and you'll be able to have a, you know, an awesome experience. So.
The different thing about Zeus is that he's our final boss. And so more care and more concern needs to go into that because it's going to be what the player remembers when they turn off the game, hoping that they finished it. So it needs to be very epic, very big, big moments, not really mechanic driven, but something where you finish it and you're like, oh, I need to tell my friend this, like, oh, did you play him this way, that type of thing.
Not only is he the sort of final boss, but he's also the kind of the main antagonist, that if we do a third game, he will kind of stretch into the third.
He was such an iconic figure that to ground Kratos back into Greek mythology, we wanted to make sure that when people looked at him, they knew right away that it was Zeus. They didn't have to guess, they didn't, you know, so it was pretty easy coming up with Zeus.
I definitely didn't want to stray too far from where I think the literature and everybody's sort of traditional perception of where Zeus is at.
Character artist gets the concept art from that department and just sculpts it in polygons and then paints on a texture and tries to make sure that it looks like what the intention was on the part of the producers and the concept artists. We're between concept art and animation in the pipeline. After we're done with it, we end up handing it off to the animators and make sure that it's all correct for what they need and, you know, that he bends correctly and that he moves the way he's supposed to.
We wanted to make it epic in the sense that Kratos is small and Zeus is very big. But we knew we had some problems with that, so we kind of played with scale, bringing Zeus down, making Zeus back to big.
When we started modeling and texturing Zeus, we didn't know that he was going to be a normal-sized guy and then a giant-sized guy. So that ended up adding a little bit of work to the process to make sure that he held up resolution-wise. The fun part is painting the texture on and putting all the wrinkles and stuff in there.
So we have two different models, a big one and a small one. And trying to get the big one to end up in the small space where the player doesn't realize that, you know, they've kind of been tricked that now we're loading up the small one or now we're loading up the big one. So we had to play with various ideas of, you know, we scale him up kind of off camera, but you kind of allude to it that, he's growing. Then when we cut back, you see him, you're like, oh, you know, that happened. So here we have a different model of Zeus, the big one. And then right there we swap to the small one. And right here we bring the small one back in.
So using a camera POV change to suggest the...
Right, we have the camera kind of emulate his eyes looking down and shrinking and all that. We didn't want to give him straight melee attacks, so sort of like how the Colossus is like punching at Kratos. We wanted to keep him more magical. So the things that we're working on are attacks that keep his godlike appearance without getting his hands dirty.
They have so much history, and that history kind of unfolds in the horrible things that they do to each other in this fight. So it's a sort of an interesting tying together of all these different elements and really bringing together the actual mythology of all of these gods being completely insecure because of the kind of cyclical nature of overthrowing each other.
The thing that you're going to hopefully remember about Zeus will be not only was the fight very fun, but the fight came to a finale where you're like, oh, now I see what they were doing and where they're going, and I can't wait for the next one. Usually in the very beginning of how we go about building the game and the creatures, me and Corey and Eric and the rest of us on the combat team will sit down and we'll say, oh, you know, we need these kind of creatures, or, you know, in mythology there was this, what if we took that but kind of put a spin on it so that it behaved this way? And then we'll sit down with the concept artist and we're like, oh, okay, we got this idea, here's these things that we want to get out of the creature. And then the concept artist will come back with like 20 or 30 different ideas, and they're an amazing team. And they'll be like, okay, here's a whole bunch of ideas, what sticks, kind of like the shotgun approach. And we'll go through, we're like, oh, I wasn't thinking that, but I wasn't thinking this either, and that will really work.
The simplicity of this one, but sort of the personality in the face of this one, getting across that. But I mean, I love the skinniness of this guy.
And then from there, we'll sit down with kind of the animators and the character modelers, and we'll go, okay, here's the personality, here's what we kind of want to get from it. And then we usually try to keep everyone in the loop so that when everyone else is working on their sort of set of creatures, they know what we're doing over here. So that way we don't have too much overlap.
Most of the combat design that myself and the other combat designers do is on the enemy side or the boss's sides. So we come up how the enemy is going to fight Kratos and his unique attributes and his style and what he's going to do. We also come up with like the little tricks or the strategy that you're going to use against this enemy. And then from there, we come up with the animation lists, and we work with the animator, and we go back and forth deciding like how's this guy going to attack, how fast he's going to attack, what types of blocks he's going to use, or whatever strategy it might be. From there, then we go into the code and we start building the character out, get him into the level, get him running, and play around with him, have him fight Kratos, trying to come up with the coolest way to kill him off. From there, it's just revisions over and over. The trick with this guy is he's covering up a little pressure plate. And what you'll need to do is just attack one of his tentacles till he gets stunned, and he's going to lift up his tentacle. And now you're going to use that last Spartan, you're going to use his body to hold that pressure plate down. When that does is it opens up a vent. This is where the Phoenix came from. Now you can use your Icarus wings to fly up in the air, but you got to be careful of the Kraken hitting you down. So you want to use the Icarus wings to fly up, and then you'll get high enough where you can hit the Kraken in the head, and that's where he's actually vulnerable. One of the initial goals that we wanted was to create a puzzle-like boss fight, so it's not just hacking away and beating up somebody and avoiding their attacks. It's not just simple hack and slash.
Kratos is interacting with the sisters throughout the whole game. You see them as statues, you see them in little sequences. So we knew that when Kratos actually gets up to them and has to fight them, that we wanted to make it a kind of a big event. So first you'll kind of fight her on the ground. She'll kind of hang out over here and dash around and throw these little fireballs at you. From a combat point of view, this was definitely one of the most challenging parts of the game. Well, eventually she basically flies up in the air like this. So you as a player, you can't really do much from this distance. So hopefully you take note and you see these grapple points hanging around. And you can't stay on one for very long because she'll shoot you down. So what you basically got to do is you got to jump from each one to each and hit her in the middle, just like that. And eventually you'll get her to a little stunned state, whereas you can jump here and take her out. We've been working on this for a couple months now. We're starting to see how it's going to be and how fun it's going to be, and hopefully everybody else will think it's fun too.
You do not defy fate, Kratos!
This is our wireless technology, the Sony wireless controller. We actually just took a controller and cut off the cord. We use this for when we're planning out the button mapping in order to make the controls feel as efficient and as sort of thoughtless for the player as possible. It's natural in one sense because we're always using the L1 for a shift. So we just explain it in the shift mechanic of L1 plus R1. L1 and R2 is what Amulet of the Fates used to be. And it's a very awkward button combination for people, so now we've moved it to just R2. You turn it on, you turn it off, single button activation. And then we've taken the sub-weapons, which used to be just on R2, and we've turned that into an L1 plus R1 combination. The balance between the L1 and the face buttons being on opposite hands, I think really helps people to be able to use it as kind of a shift functionality. It's not that bad. This is the kind of stuff where we've been toiling over this for probably about 3 months. We've gone through so many different control schemes to maintain the really smooth, easy controls we had from the last game, but cram in 9 other features. We were already out of buttons from the last game, so it was very hard. Thank you, guys.
I plan and bring together all of the elements of what needs to happen for in-game animations. It's really all about going and working with the guys and making sure that they have what they need and that they're on the right track.
Pretty much everybody in the animation team except for me is new, so with that you get a lot of fresh ideas. One of the things she does is when she's dealt enough damage to you, she can come off the pillars and just charge at you. And the idea behind this one was to have her, because she's so thick and bulky compared to the other Medusas, I figured I'd make her move more like an alligator. I figured that would be the most threatening creature that would come to mind. It also gives her a lot of character. A lot of people like when they see her get down like that and come at you, it's like, whoa, she's scary.
When they do it, you want them to be like, oh my god, you know, like that's the payoff for it all. The one that's always in the press actually is the Cyclops eye rip. This is what's in the game now. Hopefully it doesn't change before the end of the game. People love this move just because of the eye ripping part. It was that moment that people react to. I feel it. Sometimes I use video, like, I guess. This is embarrassing, but yeah, that's me. Sometimes you just gotta feel it out and get the motion, especially with stumbling and things that have more acting to them.
My favorite death sequence is probably the Theseus one. During that sequence, Kratos throws his blade into Theseus, who's hanging off the ledge at this point. He pulls him down, and as it's coming down, he punches Theseus into the door, grabs Theseus' weapon, and then stabs him against the door. Then he grabs the key for the door from Theseus, and he puts the key into the lock. When the lock opens, Theseus slips to the floor, and then he makes one last effort to grab Kratos. And Kratos pulls away and stomps his head in between the door. And at this point in the game, you can mash the door into Theseus' head. So when it finally gets into the game, into like the final form, it's a relief because it's like, now I've finally finished, you know, and I can move on to the next thing.
Feel like I'm a little bit twisted. Coming up with different ideas, how to kill. How many ways can you kill someone? Originally, he was going to break his neck. I have an animation here. We had him jumping up on him and breaking his neck, and it just wasn't reading properly. It just didn't feel right, like Kratos. It wasn't brutal enough. So it was changed to this one.
Being new here, this was my very first whole character that I got to do. He's seen around the world, and you fight him in a lot of battles. Sometimes you find multiple ones, which is really tough. This is just the actual CS move where Kratos grabs the Minotaur's weapon and actually uses it against him to impale him and kill him. What we were working on was trying to make the Minotaur react like he would, like a beast or creature would. You know, anytime he gets hit, he's growling back at you and he's reacting to what Kratos is doing. The other challenge is in the middle of this anim, there's a struggle minigame where it stops and the player has to mash on the button to impale him. And that's actually pretty difficult. You know, it seems like it's just a two-pose off thing, but I spent a lot of time trying to make sure that when he's pulling, you know, the strength of Kratos feels good. You know, the character responding and trying to pull back feels correct. And we're still working on it. It's not completely final yet, but a couple more passes and I think we'll be there.
The windmill magic is one of the new magics for this game. If I was to compare it to one of the magics in the first game, I guess it would be more like the Zeus lightning bolt, which allowed the player to reach enemies that were out of range. This is an example of one of the special moves that he can do with the bow. As you can see here, the bow seems kind of thick. Since it's made out of wind, the artists have actually created the animation within the bow. There's some textures here that actually animate and flow. Then once this gets into the game, you don't actually see the thickness. You only see this kind of translucent wind and air flowing through. So it's a really cool idea that the concept artist came up with. And the only solid part on the wind bow is this face right here. One of the special moves that are done with the wind bow, as you can see here, Kratos is just madly shooting arrows all over the ground in a circle, and it creates this huge tornado, which is quite cool in the game. You can definitely damage a lot of enemies. We try to, make him vicious, make every move that he does fit his character, his brutality. That's definitely what we try to go for, but without trying to, hopefully people won't think that we're crazy.
Anytime the player loses control of the game, we cut away to either what we call an in-game cinematic, which is rendered in the game engine, or you cut away to a high-res cinematic.
The biggest challenge would be just trying to make it as seamless as possible, like from actual gameplay to cinematics.
I provide the connection between all of the different departments that touch cinematics. It hasn't changed the end pose, right? Correct. It requires constant emails, phone calls, making sure that everybody's on the same page with the script, any dialogue changes, Corey's new wishes, music, sound effects, the whole 9 yards. We have about 42 cinematics ranging in length between 20 seconds and 3.5 minutes. So getting all of those to the level of a AAA title takes a little bit of coordination.
In-game cinematics are the cinematics that are run through the actual game engine. In other words, these cinematics have to use game assets, the same characters, the same environments, the same lighting.
Mostly I do in-game cinematics. What I'm going to show you is a cut between combat move to the next gameplay. And right now it's a very raw stage wherein there's no special effects, no particles, and no ambient sound. The challenges of this cut scene is just to convey Kratos' anger because he thought he already killed Colossus when actually he hasn't. So he's thrown into this water level. This is one of those cinematics that doesn't involve any dialogue or voiceover. It's pure cutscene.
By the way, just for the record, this is how I come to work every day. Each character has these controls by which we can move them. We have a timeline, so basically what we're doing is we're posing the character on certain keyframes, and then when you play it back, you actually get the animation. It's exciting to be doing this. It's the funnest job, it's the best job, and I love it. I don't know, I just love doing it.
The most satisfying thing is when I really can take all of these pieces that exist already, some of the ones that I've had to make myself, and put them together and everything just clicks. This is a movie called Blade Offer 05. It's when Zeus gives you the Sword of Olympus. So what I needed to do was recreate roads. I used a lot of these pieces that had been built already, and then I had to build a few of the things myself, like this top stuff that you don't actually see in the game. Here's Kratos doing his thing. I had to put in all these sprites of clouds that they look strange here, but they render out correctly. Zeus opens the clouds and shows this light down, and here comes the Blade of Olympus.
comes down and there's these dust clouds, and then there's this little crack that pops up. I send all the information over to our dev kit that then builds everything.
I offer you the Blade of Olympus.
The high-res cinematics are cinematics that are pre-rendered. They don't have to go through the game engine at all. They can use any type of effects, any type of models, any type of lighting, whatever to make it beautiful. So the high-res cinematics may be more similar to an actual film. For the high-res cinematics, we start with a storyboard, and we make sure to test all of our shots, test our ideas here on paper before doing anything in CG land. From the storyboards, we outline our moves, get our actors together, our mocap actors, go down to the facility, do the shoot. This is a photo from one of our shoots. Me and two of the actors. I handled directing the actors. Everyone was suited up. You have to start in a T stance, and the cameras rotate around so that you can calibrate all the different markers that are on the character. Each marker is connected by a line. Think of a dot to dot that we've all done as little kids. It kind of looks like that. After the shoot, this is what we get back, which is actually Rhea that you saw. She's holding a baby that she doesn't want to give away, but her husband Kronos has been eating all of the babies, so the only way for the baby to live is if she gives the baby away, and this is the final goodbye. This is all raw mocap data with no cleanup, no hair, and a temporary model. We send the data to an external studio. External studio starts to build the cameras, put the characters in front of the cameras, building shots and timing. And the external studio places that data into a scene with their high-res set and their cameras. They also put it on a model that they've built high-res that's gone through an approval process here. And then on top of that, they're of course building models and environments and textures and lighting. And this is the exciting part. This is what we're just starting to get back now.
But when the time came for the last of her children to be eaten, she was unable to bear another such loss, and devised a trick to save the baby Zeus.
There are a lot of mistakes, a lot of clipping issues. It's first pass cloth, it's first pass hair. All of the scenes are not rendered, but this is the first renders that we've seen. Now, over the course of the next few weeks, we will spend our time giving revisions back to the external studio so that everything can be brought to final. It's going to be great once it all comes together.
Rhea commanded the eagle to secret her son away. He was taken to an island well beyond the watchful eyes of Kronos.
So I'm Stig, art director on God of War 2. We had developed only 3 bosses in the last game, so we came out with this one with a goal of trying to multiply that by 5, it seemed like at first. Icarus was an interesting boss too, because it was just trying to bring this almost like Aqualung, Jethro Tull type old, disgusting man, and making him just look as crazy and evil as possible, but at the same time, there's a little bit of comedy to his character, as well as the Fat Medusa. I mean, obviously, she's grotesque, and she feels very much like she's part of the same family as Sister 3, which is another one of these giant, grotesque beasts. Sister 3 had to, very challenging character, we had to make sure that all of the stuff that was coming through in the concept, all the threads, the fat, the grotesque pus and pimples, and we could pull that off in 3D. And there was a lot of back and forth going between concept and the final product. And we ended up pretty much all of the boss characters that we originally we ended up creating for the game, which is pretty impressive.